The Little Translator. The crystal chandelier cast dancing shadows across the marble floors of Le Chateau Blanc, the most exclusive French restaurant in Manhattan. CEO Marcus Wellington adjusted his Italian silk tie, his steely gray eyes scanning the opulent dining room where deals worth millions were made over truffle courses and vintage wines. Tonight's dinner with the French investors could secure the biggest acquisition of his career, a chain of luxury hotels across Europe worth $300 million. Everything had to be perfect. But as Marcus opened the leather-bound menu, his confidence cracked like thin ice. Every single word was in French, elaborate, flowing script that might as well have been ancient hieroglyphics to his American eyes. His throat tightened. In 15 minutes, Jean-Pierre Dubois and his investment team would arrive, expecting sophisticated conversation about cuisine and culture. Marcus had built his empire on precision, control, and never showing weakness. Now faced with a simple menu, he felt utterly powerless. Asterisk, if you're enjoying this story of unexpected heroes and life-changing moments, please hit that like button, share this video, and don't forget to comment below what you think will happen next. And make sure to subscribe to Trillionaire in Love for more inspiring stories that will touch your heart. Panic rising in his chest, Marcus signaled desperately for a waiter. But the maître d' was busy. The sommelier was occupied with another table, and the French waitstaff seemed to glide past him like ghosts. His hands began to sweat as he stared at phrases like coq au vin aux champignons de Paris and bouillabaisse marseillaise traditionnelle. Each second that ticked by felt like an eternity. From the corner of his eye, he noticed a small figure near the kitchen doors. A little girl, no more than 10 years old, with dark pigtails and a simple blue dress that had seen better days. She was carefully arranging bread rolls in a basket, her movements precise despite her young age. Something about her calm demeanor in the chaos of the restaurant caught his attention. Without thinking, Marcus approached her, his desperation overriding his usual protocol. "Excuse me," he said, his voice barely controlled. "Do you speak English?" The girl looked up with bright, intelligent eyes that seemed far older than her years. "Oui, monsieur. I mean, yes, sir," she replied softly, setting down the bread basket. "I need help translating this menu. It's very important." Marcus's voice cracked slightly, a vulnerability he hadn't shown in decades of business dealings. The girl, who introduced herself as Sophie, studied his face with surprising perception. She saw past the expensive suit and commanding presence to the frightened man beneath. Without hesitation, she wiped her flour-dusted hands on her apron and took the menu. "This one," she began, pointing to the first item with a small, delicate finger, "is rooster cooked in wine with mushrooms from Paris. But not just any mushrooms. The chef uses ones that grow in the caves beneath the city. My papa used to tell me about them before." She paused, a shadow crossing her face. "Before he went away." As Sophie continued translating, Marcus learned her story. She was the daughter of the restaurant's former head chef, a culinary genius who had been deported 6 months ago due to expired visa paperwork. Sophie's mother worked double shifts as a kitchen assistant just to keep them afloat, and Sophie helped after school, earning a few dollars by doing odd jobs around the restaurant. Despite her circumstances, she spoke with the passion and knowledge of someone who had grown up, breathing the essence of French cuisine. "The bouillabaisse marseillaise," Sophie continued, her eyes lighting up, "is a fish stew from the south of France. But the secret is in the rouille, the spicy sauce. Chef Bernard adds a tiny bit of saffron that costs more per gram than gold. Papa taught me that the best dishes carry stories, not just flavors." Marcus found himself completely absorbed, not just in the translations but in Sophie's wisdom. Here was a child who had faced more hardship in her young life than he had in his privileged 50 years. Yet she spoke with grace and knowledge that humbled him. When Jean-Pierre Dubois and his team arrived, Marcus was ready. But more than that, he was transformed. Instead of the cold, calculated businessman who had walked in an hour earlier, he spoke with genuine warmth about each dish, sharing the stories Sophie had told him. He described the saffron in the bouillabaisse, the cave mushrooms in the coq au vin, the tradition behind each recipe. The French investors were enchanted. Jean-Pierre, a man known for his stern demeanor, actually smiled as Marcus recounted the tale of the roux sauce. "Monsieur Wellington," he said in accented English, "I have had many business dinners, but never with someone who understands that food is about heart, not just hunger. You speak of our cuisine like a poet." But the evening took an unexpected turn when Jean-Pierre noticed Sophie, quietly refilling water glasses nearby. His face suddenly brightened with recognition. Mon Dieu, Sophie Moreau, you are Henry's daughter. Sophie's eyes widened in shock. Jean-Pierre continued. Your father was the most talented chef I have ever known. He cooked for my wedding 20 years ago in Lyon. What is he doing now? The joy drained from Sophie's face as she explained her father's situation. The room fell silent as this powerful group of businessmen listened to a 10-year-old girl describe losing her father to bureaucratic complications, watching her mother work herself to exhaustion and helping, however she could, just to survive. Marcus felt something crack open in his chest, a wall he had built around his heart decades ago when he decided that success meant never showing weakness, never caring about anything but profit. Looking at Sophie, seeing the strength in her small frame and the wisdom beyond her years, he realized that his definition of power had been completely wrong. That night, after the contracts were signed and the deals were made, Marcus didn't go home to his empty penthouse. Instead, he sat with Sophie and her mother in the restaurant's small break room, listening to their story and making a decision that would change all their lives. The challenges were enormous. Immigration law was complex, expensive, and time-consuming. Marcus's lawyers initially told him it was impossible to bring Henri Moreau back from France. The deportation was final, the case closed. But Marcus had learned something from Sophie that night. Sometimes the most important battles aren't fought in boardrooms, but in the quiet moments when we choose to see someone else's humanity. He hired the best immigration attorneys in the country. He used his business connections to fast-track visa applications. When legal channels moved too slowly, he flew to France himself and met with Henri. Offering him a job as head chef at a new restaurant Marcus decided to open, not for profit but to give talented immigrants a second chance. The bureaucratic maze seemed endless. Forms were lost, applications delayed, interviews rescheduled. Marcus spent more time in government offices than boardrooms, learning patience and persistence from a 10-year-old girl who never stopped believing her father would come home. Sophie's mother initially resisted Marcus's help, proud and suspicious of the wealthy businessman's motives. Why are you doing this? She asked one evening as Marcus sat in their tiny apartment, helping Sophie with her homework while they waited for news from the lawyers. Because she saved me, Marcus replied simply, watching Sophie carefully sound out French words in her English textbook. I thought success meant having all the answers. Sophie taught me that sometimes success means knowing when to ask for help, and wisdom means being brave enough to give it. 6 months later, on a crisp autumn morning, Marcus stood at JFK Airport holding a sign with Henri Moreau's name. When a man with Sophie's same intelligent eyes and warm smile walked through the gates, the reunion that followed taught Marcus more about wealth than any business deal ever had. Henri didn't just return as a chef, he became family. His restaurant, Second Chances, became a haven for immigrants with culinary dreams, funded by Marcus's foundation. Sophie, who had spent months helping Marcus understand not just French cuisine but the language of compassion, became the restaurant's youngest cultural consultant, helping create a menu that told stories of hope from around the world. The business deal with Jean-Pierre Dubois succeeded beyond Marcus's wildest dreams, but it wasn't the money that changed his life. It was the night a little girl from the kitchen became his teacher, showing him that true translation isn't just about converting words from one language to another. It's about converting fear into courage, selfishness into generosity, and isolation into connection. Marcus still runs his empire, but now it includes programs for immigrant entrepreneurs, scholarship funds for children like Sophie, and restaurants that serve hope alongside their signature dishes. His penthouse isn't empty anymore. It's filled with family dinners where Henri cooks, Sophie translates, and Marcus finally understands what it means to be truly successful. The little girl who translated a menu didn't just help him order dinner that night. She translated his entire understanding of what it means to live a meaningful life. Sometimes the most important lessons come from the smallest teachers, and sometimes the greatest translations happen not on paper, but in the human heart. The moral of Sophie's story isn't just about kindness to strangers or the power of helping others. It's about recognizing that everyone we meet has something to teach us, that true strength comes from vulnerability, and that the most successful people aren't those who have all the answers. They're the ones humble enough to learn from a 10-year-old girl with flour on her hands and wisdom in her heart. If this story touched your heart and reminded you of the power we all have to change someone's life, please share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Hit that like button. Leave a comment telling us about a time someone unexpected taught you an important lesson. And don't forget to subscribe to Trillionaire in Love for more stories that celebrate the extraordinary moments hidden in ordinary lives. Remember, we all have the power to translate someone's pain into possibility. Sometimes, we just need the courage of a little girl to show us how.